I could talk about a lot of things right now. I could talk about how Yuzu in a giant metropolis runs into the only three people who know Crow. I could talk about how Cosmo Dark Destroyers may be the most expensive card in Yu-Gi-Oh! I could talk about Sora and Yuya scene. I could talk about how not preparing for the new ban list resulted in a local where I got outvoted to use the new format and got my ass handed to me. But what I want to talk about and what I'm going to talk about is Roger, because oh my god, Roger was amazing in this episode. And more importantly, the actor whose name escapes me was insanely good. This might be the most malevolently delivered performance in the show so far, and I loved every second of it. First up, the thing about Roger is that he's been underplayed up until this point. Yeah, he's sort of in the background, manipulating everything, all that stuff. But let's be real here. Everything's kind of gone the course it would go. Rather, Roger is supposed to be just a perfunctory bad guy or not. This is the first time I've really seen something interesting with this character. The wanting to take over the synchro dimension. Yeah, I like the way they presented it, but it's overall superfluous to the overall story. But the actor made everything work about this episode. First up, the thing that got me the most is that he never lied at any point. At no point during his entrance scene did he make anything up. He never stretched the truth. He flat out says, look, I want to manipulate this 14-year-old boy, which sounds really wrong when you say it out loud. But the thing is that the scene was perfectly set up for him to take command. Everything was Shinji being angry and pissed off and accusing Yuya of cheating just out of his own psychoticness. Everything with the rich and the commons I thought was perfectly shown. One thing I loved about last episode that I couldn't talk about was that I loved how they kept, after seeing the commons want to rebel and rise up, they would turn to this family watching, and they would still show images of just the rich in their box eating their fancy food and their wine. They would show this family just sort of watching and just sort of scared and confused with a little girl in the middle. That's great imagery. That's really great imagery, and I love that it was saved for the second episode like that. Because what that does is it puts the scene in another level of reality that the show doesn't need to do. There's absolutely nothing wrong with just showing the rich as these selfish fat cats who just want to manipulate and abuse and treat the poor like garbage. We see that a lot. Thank you, Neil Blomkamp. But what I loved about it was that when you show that family, you put it into another level of reality that, yes, they do all that, but they're people. They take care of their families, they pay their bills, they go to work so that way they can provide for everyone they need to and take care of who they need to. And that gets lost a lot in things like this. And I love that we went back to it and we showed it. So it's like, it brings this reality of, yes, things need to change. And an uprising and a rebellion could change that. It probably wouldn't, because I'm sure the Tops has guns and they could just kill all the commons because they're crazy. But the thing is that when you show that family, you're like, violence isn't really the answer, and it won't do anything. We see that a lot in our own society. And it's just sort of like to see that be represented here when it's never represented a lot. It doesn't need to be in this. It was such a perfect scene, and to use it so subtly like that was great. And I thought it was perfect. And then to see the payoff of it, of when you see the 1% or the Tops, or I forget what they're called even now, just going to Yuya, like, congratulating him, saying, thank you for taking this down. It just fills me with... It's so bittersweet, because, yes, a rebellion and uprising would be bad, but at the same time, by winning, Yuya sends this message that he condones and he allows this, and that's what it comes across as, of course. And the thing is, it's so dark and twisted because he's got the support of all these rich people who he knows are the bad guys from his perspective, and who are so dark and who are doing these terrible things and allowing it and condoning it. But what's he supposed to do? He's a kid. And now all the commons are against him, and you can see why, because they just took out basically their Jesus. So that was really great. And I just thought, you see Roger just come in, and he's obviously not planned this out. He's just telling the truth, and he sees a situation, and he decides to take advantage of it. Remember, the only actual thing he does in that scene that actually changes anything is he lets Yuya go look for Yuzu, which only incriminates Yuya to the commons even more. And the thing that's so great about it is the way the actor delivers it with such a great use of malevolency in his voice. Delicious malevolency, as I like to call it. It's just such a dark performance because, again, he's just saying what we already know, but he's doing it in such a devious way that it just makes me want to keep listening, and I can enjoy it, and I love it, and it's just executed so damn perfectly, and I loved every minute of it. If I had to pick a nitpick, I didn't like how quickly the kid turned on Yugioh. Like, he's instantly looking at the scene with hatred. I would have preferred it if the kid was like, no, Yuyu's on our side, Yuzu's on our side, until he went looking for Yuzu, because that would sort of be like confirming this guy who he's sort of been idolizing and taking advantage of that sort of thing. And I thought it would have shown Roger's influence more to show that this is a villain who doesn't need to duel. He doesn't need to get down and dirty. He just needs to say the right things at the right time to change everything, which is what he does here, and it's so perfectly executed. As for the rest of it, it's just mostly from there, the Yuya and Sora stuff. And that was fine. It kind of goes exactly the direction you were expecting. Sora, from all the ad material, looks like he could be a good guy again. He could be both. It could go either way, and I could see it going either way, and I think it's fine either way it goes. On the one hand, maybe he has turned good. Maybe he is trying to save Yuya and Yuzu because they're his friends, and I guess I was right, the power of boners is stronger. And I like that idea because it also sort of shows how he's still sort of twisted. That's like, oh yeah, we'll save this 14-year-old girl, but we'll let this other 14-year-old girl be experimented on. And I sort of like Yuya's reaction of, it's not going to help. It's not just Yuya being like, oh yeah, this is over. It's like, no, I'm not an idiot. I can tell what's going to happen next, even if I haven't even met the professor yet, which is what I really liked about it. And I could see it going the other, and you see it from Sora's perspective. It's like, these are my friends. I want to protect them. But it's like, I know it's ultimately pointless. I can only prolong the inevitable. But I could also see it the other way, that Sora is still twisted and still evil, and this is just going to play into more of that. I'd prefer it if he was good, because at this point, I don't think we need to see any more evil Sora, as there's so much going on already, and I sort of like the direction you can go with this a bit more. But if he does turn out to just be setting a trap to capture both Yuya and Yuzu, I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't be bothered. I just think we can start moving forward with that character, and it does make sense. But apart from that, everything was great about this episode. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of great stuff, but again, Roger just stole the entire show from me. But what did you think? In the comment section below, give me your thoughts on this. And for this week's TCG question of the week, I want to know, what is your favorite card from Dimensions of Chaos, or what you think the best is, or if you think Dark Fighter should really be $130, or whatever it is, tell me in the comment section below. And as always, click to like and click to subscribe for more listenings of Roger's delicious malevolency.